behind me. Because I was in reverse gear, I think he's seen my lights and stopped dead, so I have to proceed, get out of his way. Anyway, how are you? How are you? Long time no see. Look at the weather, really, really flat white cloud today. So, it's a tremendous day today. Just been up, I've got bags under my eyes, just been up all night. I've been watching the American election. Been watching Trump 47 win. Excellent. In my opinion, best thing that could have happened. Worst thing that could have happened would have been a Kamala victory. She spent the entire campaign saying how she was going to you know what, I don't even know how to summarise it. The only way I can put it, sorry about my hand, I'll get that out of the way in a minute. It's like if she was a Miss World contestant and they said to her, you know, if you win Miss World, what would you like to do? Then she starts going on about hopes and dreams and aspirations and how she's going to bring everybody together and want everyone's going to be lovely, and with the money that she wins, she's going to give people money towards buying houses, and she's going to give money towards people who can't start businesses to start businesses. And you know, I think the American public just sort of saw through that. I saw that they saw through all this rubbish of her campaign, all the memes, the childish cat lady meme, the good people on both sides meme, the disrespecting the Arlington National Cemetery meme. You probably won't remember any of this, and it may be that if you've not been following the election, you won't have heard of any of this, but that's fine, I don't mind. I've been following the American election very closely, me and Mrs. Angry have, for the past sort of year or so. And when everyone says, you know, who do you want to win or who do you think is going to win, we always say Trump, and they're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, you know. And one of the funniest things last night and this morning has been the cognitive dissonance going on with the mainstream media, who been you know, repeating all these stupid memes that make up the Democratic bubble, the bubble that Obama's inside and Clinton is to a certain extent inside, but Hillary Clinton certainly is inside, and the McCains are inside, Oprah's inside, Robert De Niro's inside it, Julia Roberts is inside it. All these people who are like just in this weird bubble, and they hear things and they never bother to check anything. They just hear things and they pass it on, and it's all like, you know, Trump's running mate J.D. Vance is weird, pass it on. Have you heard J.D. Vance, Trump's running mate is weird, pass it on. And last night all the chickens came home to roost, and the American public decided that they want a president who, although he's you know, somewhat deranged in certain areas, was you know, at least a serious contender, and not some idiot Democratic nominee that had to be shoehorned in at the last minute, despite the fact that everybody knew she was useless. Had been kicked out of the race for president at the very first hurdle last time she tried to stand, but the problem was her name was on the Democratic checkbook, and they'd raised over $500 million at that point for Trump-Harris, and if Trump stood down as president, they'd have to give it all back, unless Harris said that she was going to carry on, and so she was more or less told that she got to carry on. But then they didn't let her in front of the media for about a month, because it was quite obvious that she wasn't, you know, she spent the last 3 or 4 years drinking Chardonnay and being in charge of the border without being able to point to the border on a map, and Then someone said to her, "Look, come on, Kamala, we've got to get you into shape. You're running as president." And she's like, "Oh my God, what?" Anyway, if there's one thing it proves is that the public really want someone who's competent. It's market forces really, I would say, in operation. Because if the government does not do what the electorate wants, then they can persist for a long time. There's all sorts of things that can persist artificially in a sort of an anti-market way for a long time. And then all of a sudden the market gives them a kick up the jacksie, and everybody has to reevaluate everything and reset their expectations and reset all their paradigms, and their narratives and stuff like that get reset. There was nothing more annoying than a Democratic apologist saying how wonderful the economy was and how the borders weren't a problem, and how Harris's previous objections to fracking and her being pro men in women's changing rooms and men in women's sports and life altering gender changing surgery at an age when you can't buy a beer in the pub, but apparently your parents can consent to you having your private parts cut off. Had to be a reckoning for all that, and last night was the reckoning. And so instead of having to say, look, I think you're wrong, I don't agree with you, I think you're profoundly mistaken, you can say with the backing of the majority of Americans that you are wrong. Okay, now you've been shown that you're wrong. You're not carrying people with you. You don't have popular support. And there are very, very few Democratic. The only person I saw on the radio today was a Democratic strategist who came on and started saying, how a couple of years ago she'd got a bit unhappy and had mentioned it, and how the Democrats had gone wrong. She thought they'd gone wrong in this way and gone wrong in that way, etc., etc. But the problem is the mainstream media they can't really put questions to her like, do you think it was sensible for everybody just to start calling JD Vance names like weird? I mean, is that really going to carry the country with you? Or do you think the country balked at the idea that somebody as vapid as Harris should be sitting in the war room with a palm on the red nuclear button, trying to understand who Kim Jong-il is, where North Korea is on the map, its strategic importance, whether what's the significance of Chinese in the Chinese Sea, China Sea, how Japan is strategically threatened, where Taiwan is, what Taiwan's history is. They don't. I mean, I think Trump would probably struggle with all that, but he's very simple, Trump. He's like the teacher in the playground who, when he comes out and sees there's a fight going on, just gets hold of the two boys who are fighting by the scruff of the neck and puts them both in detention, even though one of them's probably the aggressor and the other one's the victim. He doesn't really care. It's just he stopped the fight. That's the main thing. So yeah, I'm quite happy. And then of course Harris and Biden were very anti-crypto and and as a result the price of crypto's suppressed because of legal action was being taken left, right and centre by the securities, the SEC, I forget what its long name is, Securities Exchange Commission. It's being it's headed up by a guy called Gary Gensler, who's got the weirdest skeletal malformation you've ever seen in your life. It's almost like he's got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. He looks a very weird looking bloke. Anyway, he's very anti-crypto and Bitcoin. Trump has on several occasions said that how much in favour of Bitcoin he is. So if he wants, if Bitcoin has to exist, he wants it to exist in America. So he's promised to sack Gensler on day one, and as a result, Bitcoin has shot up, much to the merriment of me and my merry band of Bitcoin hodlers. So, and the other thing he promised to do was to release free Ross. Here's the guy who ran the website called the Silk Road and basically sold drugs in a way very similar to Amazon, where if you've got your drugs and you give the seller a star rating, so that people in future would know that these drugs were not adulterated with bleach cleaner or bicarbonate of soda or talcum powder or whatever. So as a result, the whole process of taking drugs got to be a lot safer. But of course the government couldn't have that. All right. So Ross, what's his name? Ross Ulbricht. Anyway, he'll have had a good night. Oh dear me. So it's going to be great. I mean, the situation in the UK politically is that we had a Conservative government for 14 years, and again they just got completely out of touch with the people, and on the same sort of issues, you know, the economy, high inflation, unregulated, legal and illegal immigration out of control. And so they had a reckoning about 6 months ago, and they were booted out in the same way as the Biden and Harris were booted out. And then what happened was we then got a Labour government, which was elected on something like 33% of the popular vote, but ended up with over 400 MPs out of 600, which is the system. I mean, that is the system. But 33% of the vote and 400, you know, an unassailable, ridiculously large majority, means that they're likely to do a ton of other stuff, which is also, you know, stupid, and they'll get chucked out duly in 5 years' time as well. Majority or no majority. And someone who's a bit more realistic, someone who does understand what the electorate wants, more of a man of the people, I mean, you know who I'm talking about, a certain Nigel Farage, who's been useful to Trump because he understands Trump's politics, and the whole purpose of being in politics being to serve the public and do what the public wants and knows is sensible. It may be down to him to come sweeping in the same way as Trump has swept in again, and just on the basis that he's going to do something about the economy, and he's going to do something about the immigration, and not just pay lip service to it and just assume that you're part of the ruling class and that you're entitled to be in power, and that the public's job is to do what you decide to do when you're in power, and not the other way around, that when in power you're supposed to be doing what the public wants you to do. So anyway, the outlook is pretty bleak in the UK, unless you're holding Bitcoin, of course. And the outlook in the United States is like the weather, changeable. Going to be interesting to see what he does, because he's promised a lot. He's promised to bring Elon Musk in to make savings, $2 trillion worth of savings in admin government. He's promised to fight the blob, Democratic blob, all the unelected officials that enact democratic policy, even though they're not elected to do that, and to change all sorts of things, like put tariffs on cheap imports so that it becomes cost effective to manufacture things in the United States again. Anyway, so it's been a good night for me all round. I'm in a good mood. I hope you are too. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.